Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to join in. And if somebody is already here, I will be grateful if you say hello in the chat, where you're from, so I can see that people is joining in and then start the talk. Anybody there? Hello, Chris. Oh, Barcelona, excellent. Good weather there, I gather. I am opposite to Dundee, very near to Dundee, Scotland. Here the weather is lovely today. Hello, Angel from France, marvelous. I'm going to wait a couple of minutes because people is joining in, and then we start this talk. North London, Surrey, excellent. Well, welcome everybody. Bienvenidos, Madrid as well. The people in Spain, France, England. So I'm just, as I said, waiting a little bit. Slovakia, South Wales, Caris, Alemania, Germany. Guten Tag. Buenas tardes. Guten Tag. Bonjour. Hello, ami. It's near 20 past 4. I think we may start now. I think 1 minute more. I have a sip of tea and we start. Well, I'm going to start now. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming to listen to me. My name is Carmen Garcia del Rio. I am from Spain. I work here in Scotland and a senior fellow of the Higher Education Academy and a senior lecturer at the University of Dundee. I have worked at the University of Lancaster and St Andrews. I have dedicated more than 20 years of my life to a wonderful job that is teaching Spanish. My focus has been always will be the learner. I have written textbooks and Spanish courses, publishing with the Open University, HarperCollins, Father Arnold, the electronic magazine Tecla, and so on. Is everybody hearing me clearly? Can you listen to me? Can you hear me? Just one person confirmed. That's wonderful. Thank you very much. So the topic of this talk is becoming a confident speaker in a foreign language. Well, why I have chosen this topic? Well, we know that our students have to speak in front of others, and it's a very important skill for them to acquire. And they have to deliver classroom presentations, they have to do oral exams. And we know as well that if, speaking in front of others can be quite stressful, even in our own language. So if I have to do it in another language, it's even more challenging. And the good news is that actually we can learn and we can actually prepare our students to speak in public and to do it well. Whether if there's in oral examinations or in presentations in class in front of others. So we are going to look at all the steps that I believe they are essential to follow in order to prepare our students, and I would say ourselves as well. We have to do it to present with confidence in front of others. So the first thing that I would like to do is for you to think about what makes a good presentation for you. Because throughout this presentation, it's a presentation that I have already delivered to students of higher and advanced higher students as well, to my students at the University of Dundee. It has worked well, but just delivering a presentation does not prepare to them. We have to prepare them throughout. But the awareness of the step that they must follow is very important for them to get prepared and not to jump any of the steps that I am going to tell you in a minute. So I would like you to write in the chat what make a good presentation for you. So the first thing is to think about a presentation that you have liked and why you liked that presentation. And then think about another presentation that you really didn't like and to write why you didn't like it. Can you do that for me, please? So let's see. Yes, I can see. So like it because the speaker sounded confident, even if they have an accent just like me, isn't he? And presented the content clearly. Very good. Presentation has been interactive. The exercises are great. Good personal touch, something that you can relate to. A bit of irony. Yeah, that's very good. Engaging a speaker. For bad presentations that you didn't like it, people reading too much from slides, boring, lack of enthusiasm when presenting, a speaker does not engage with the audience, and so on. Yeah. Anything else? Poor technology. Yeah. Okay. So now we are going to think about how you feel about giving a presentation. And what I would like you is, again, using the chart, think for a moment if the idea of presenting made you scared, made you feel scared, made you feel afraid or anxious or tense. And why? Because you feel that you are in the spotlight, you have fear of making fool of yourself, or think that your audience, the people that listen to you, thinking that the content is not good enough. Others, can you write in the chat or how you feel about the idea of presenting in public? Lack of vocabulary in a foreign language. Yeah, we're going to go into that in a minute. Fear, what will people think? Losing my thoughts. Don't speak properly. Scared of making mistakes. Yeah, worried that so many things to think about at once, the tone, the vocabulary, the movement. Okay. Now, thank you very much. Now I would like you to ask, to think, what are the first words that come to your mind when you think about presenting in front of others? Think in terms of physical reactions. You sweat too much, your heart races. Think about in terms of mental reactions. I cannot do it. That little voice in your ear, the gremlin that is making you doubt that you can do something, or emotional reactions such as I feel stress. And write them in the chat, please. Yeah. Somebody saying I need to be well prepared. stress, worry, anything else? Going bright red, that's very interesting. Anxiety, overcoming stage fright. I want to be over quickly, so I talk quickly. All your emotional reactions, physical reactions, and mental reactions that you're writing in the chat, actually, our students are going to have them as well. And it's something to bear in mind. But an important thing is that we must recognize that we are afraid of talking in front of others, talking in public, and that is something normal. It happens to almost everyone. It happens to me. It happens to teachers. It happens to researchers, to actors, to politicians, to professional, to any kind of professional. They recognize that they have felt that fear, that anxiety, and many of them as well, says that the fear never completely disappears. But they have learned how to manage it. And as I said at the beginning of the talk, we can learn how to present in public. Therefore, we can learn, our students can learn how to do it. Identifying what makes us scared is very important to be able to controlling. You know, some of you have said stomachache or stress, or going blank, forgetting, being scared of not being understood, and so on. But if we identify our fears, as I said, and the reactions, that is the beginning of being able to take the necessary steps to control that. But we must remember that our fears are not going to disappear overnight. We only can overcome them through preparing ourselves, preparing our students, through learning and through practicing. And if we have to present in a foreign language, obviously, that lack of confidence could be more intense. So can you write in the chat, what do you fear about presenting in a foreign language? And what can you do to overcome this? Anybody? Forgetting the vocabulary, that is very important. Forgetting the key words. Get the wrong vocabulary, talking at the audience so that they don't take the opportunity to ask questions. Yeah, I can see that actually many people is worried about forgetting the vocabulary, forgetting what we are going to say, mispronounce something, not being understood properly. And somebody have said that the way to deal with it is to practice and practice and practice. Using a term wrongly. Okay. Thank you very much. So we can master our fears, but we need to understand as well that the fear of public speaking is individual. And the key is to understand where the fear comes from and how it manifests itself. That is the only way, actually, that we have to be able to learn how to manage it and not to be paralyzed by it. So a key thing to remember is that early preparation and practicing is key to mastering your fears. Is key to master the fears that our students may have with the idea of presenting in public. So we are going to start, or I'm going to start to talk about the steps that I believe need to be taken in order to be able to succeed when presenting. So, preparing to present. The step one to prepare to present is plan your presentation. One is plan, is write it, which is the step two. Step three, prepare your visuals and aids and supporting notes. Step four, prepare possible questions and their answers. Step five, practice, practice, and practice. Step six, preparing yourself the day before and the day of the presentation. The day that you presented is the day of the delivery. We must do certain things that I'm going to talk about later in order to do it well. And finally, the final step, it will be reflecting how things went. Let's start with step one, which is planning our presentation. The first thing that we need to think about, our students need to think about, is what I'm going to talk about. We must identify the broad topic, for example, migration, and then identify a particular aspect of the topic, for example, the impact of migration on migrants themselves and their home communities. Then we need to think about the aim of the presentation. What for? To inform, to convince, to inspire. And then we need to think about our audience, to whom we are going to deliver our presentation. Who is the people who will be listening to us? Are going to be teachers, the examiners, it's going to be the general public, the classmates, and so on. We need to think about what they already know about the topic and how much they care about it. So we have planned the presentation. We know what we want to talk about. We have identified the specific topic. We have decided for what, if to inform, convince, inspire, to whom, our audience. And now we have to start to research the topic in the target language, because the presentation is going to be not in your language, it's going to be in the target language. So we must learn as much as we can about the topic in the target language. We must collect all the information and ideas. We must write them down in the target language, in the foreign language, and we must annotate the source of information. Then when we have done our research, we have to define the appropriate depth and scope of the information that is going to be presented. What is your the key message or argument? The ideas must be organized in a logical sequence, identifying the more relevant points, and deciding what supporting evidence we are going to want to include to support our message or argument. And we must consider as well the length of the presentation. Keep it always in the time limit. Of course, we will have to guide our students through this process. In our classes, we will have to take the time to teach them how to research, what kind of sources they must look for, and as well the importance of timekeeping. Now it's time, when they have done all the research, collect all the information in the target language mostly, it will be time to write the presentation. So the presentation must have a clear structure. The presentation must contain a title. The title is key to inform the audience what the talk is going to be about. It must have an introduction, i.e., what you intend to say is the key message or argument, and what points are going to be cover in the presentation. The body of the presentation, which is the presentation itself, is where we present the more relevant points and arguments in a logic, clear, and coherent order. And the most important information must appear first. And then the conclusion, which is the summary of the main points, is the reminder of the key message and is what we want our audience to take away. So the conclusion is very important. It's not a repetition of everything that we have said before. Actually, it's the key message that we want them to remember. Then we have the structure, and then we have to write the presentation in the target language. And we must use a clear and concise and formal and varied language. Of course, we will, in the classroom, we will be guiding our students. We will be giving them advice. We will be pointing things out to them that they must do or correct. But they must actually be using a good quality language, clear, concise, and formal. Keep the sentence short, no more than 30 words per sentence, and one main idea per sentence. Use specific and precise words. Use specialized vocabulary when necessary. Avoid colloquialisms, and use some posting, to make the structure clear. Use phrases like first, second, next, to organize the different aspects of the topic. Expressions like additionally, also, to indicate we are adding information. However, in other hand, to indicate a change of direction. For example, to give examples, or in a few words to clarify, and to conclude, to summarize. All these phrases, we must teach our students in the target language, of course, how to use them, because they will elevate the quality of their presentation. Once we have actually written our script, we need to revise it and proofread it. We have to revise and proofread the content of the presentation. So it's important to read what you have written or students have written from the beginning to the end, and check that the content is relevant for the topic, the overall structure makes sense, the introduction and conclusions are clear and focused, that the language is correct. Check the grammar, the vocabulary, and expression. Then read what you have written aloud. This will help us to spot errors, to select the final content of the presentation, and to build up, and this is very, very important, to build up our knowledge of the topic in the target language. So the script has been written. Of course, us, as their teachers, we are guiding them, we are advising them. And that, I repeat again, is a process. It's not something that can be done in 45 minutes. It takes time, and it takes effort, and we need to focus the attention of our students in every single step that I am mentioning this afternoon. So the script is done, we have the content of the talk, and now we are ready to prepare our visual aids and supporting notes. So how we are going to prepare that? If we are using, for example, like tonight, I am using a PowerPoint. I have to design it. And a very important thing is to keep it simple. Keep the text to the minimum. Choose a simple color scheme. If we want to emphasize a word or a sentence, use bold, but don't use, try not to use italics or underline. Make sure if you use images that they are relevant to the topic. They cannot distract our audience. The information that you are discussing, that's being presented, don't add anything new there. And very important, proofread your presentation. If you are using supporting notes, use keywords or phrases, the words that are difficult to remember, but may be necessary to use. If when you are reading your presentation aloud, the script or the PowerPoint, and there is a word or a phrase that is difficult for you because you cannot pronounce it properly, because you don't really know, you are not going to remember, try to find a synonym, an equivalent phrase or word. If you must use that word, write it down in the way that must have to be said, not in the way, in the perfect orthographic manner. Practice it, write it in a way that reminds you how to pronounce it, as I have to do myself with the word, for example, sustainable. It really is a very difficult word for me. So every time that I have to use it, I will write it in the way that is being said. Now, presentations normally have two sections. The first section is where the speaker presents, and the other section is the question and answer section. So we must make sure that us, our students, think about possible questions and answers to that questions. So how we can do that? Well, we come back to our talk, to the content of our talk, and we think about possible questions that the audience may ask us from what they have listened to. We will write the possible questions, and we will write their answers. We will read the answers aloud, and we will actually try to respond them without looking at our notes, without reading. Now, we have the talk ready. We have the content, we have our PowerPoint, we have our notes ready, and now it's time for a key, crucial yes, they're saying, somebody's saying the visual aids as the last step. The first step is to use a plan for your talking word. Yes, I understand that. The first step is you do your research, you collect the information, you decide what is the relevant information, then you write it, you check and verify that the content of your talk is the right one, and then you are ready to actually prepare your visual aids and notes. That is when your talk is prepared. Now, and think about, as I just said, the possible questions. And now it's time, all of that has been done, and now it's time to practice, practice, and practice, and practice a bit more, because to practice is the key to success. So how we can practice? We can practice and actually think about how we are doing, reflecting, assessing ourselves. We can practice delivering our presentation in front of a mirror. I find mirrors quite useful. Why? Because they allow me to check if I am doing enough contact with my audience. if I am looking down or I am looking straight to the audience. That when we are presenting online, I know I don't have any contact with you. I can see you, you can see me, but I cannot see you. But when it's in person, the contact with the audience is key. You can video serve yourself and doing the presentation and assess the presentation in terms of if you are keeping the audience engaged with what are you presenting. Or you can practice, and that is very good, delivering your presentation in front of somebody. It could be your teacher, it could be a classmate, it could be a friend, but somebody that you trust and somebody that you know is going to give you good feedback. Is going to tell you the good things, how well you are doing, but as well is going to tell you the aspects or areas that need to be refined a bit more. Another thing that I would like you to think about and to discuss with you is actually that we must be aware that listening is tiring. And we must ask ourselves questions such as, is the presentation memorable, entertaining? Is the content well structured, is clear and is focused? Do I read too much from my notes, from the slides? Are the visual aids helping or distracting the audience? Is the presentation too long, too short? Am I confident making use of the visual aids? Also, we have to bear in mind that the capacity of the listener to remember is limited and selective. So we remember always much better the beginning or the end of what we hear. We forget, more often what is in the middle. So we need to ask, have I organized the information in a clear, engaging, and orderly manner? Is the most relevant information presented first? Have I chosen the key words that are going to help the audience to remember? Have I emphasized it and repeated the points I want the audience to remember? But listening is more than just the word that we hear. So we need to make our students aware and be as aware that we have to use our body language, the tone, our voice, the tone, the rhythm, to transmit the message. It's not just about what we say, it's how we say it. So is my pronunciation clear? Is the tone of my voice monotonous? Somebody before said, I didn't like this presentation because it was boring, monotonous. Do I talk too fast, too slow? Can they hear me? I'm using my hands too much. I'm moving too much. I'm making enough eye contact. I am very tense. So one thing to remember as well, I think is important with the audience, is the audience is on your side. They are there because they want to listen to what you have to say. So make sure that the messages are clear and the audience is going to understand what you actually want to say. Try to avoid messages that are confusing, misleading, or ambiguous. And be ready when they ask questions. So if they ask you a question and you don't understand, you can ask again and you can ask for clarification. We have talked at the beginning about fear, about tension, about stress. So we need to have strategies to relax, to be more relaxed when we are giving the talk, but that starts well before the talk takes place. There is relaxing techniques, some of them quite simple. We are going to do one in a minute, but as well of relaxing techniques, there is other things that can help us, like positive thinking, exercise regularly, having a good diet, sleep well, have activities like dancing or yoga that help us to reduce the stress. So I'm going to do with you for a second, just 1 minute, a very simple exercise, breathing exercise, that I think it works very well. You can do that exercise just before giving the talk, or even during a talk if you get too stressed. So we are going to breathe in as much as we can and out, and very, very slowly. Can we do it for everybody? Once, just to see how it goes. I hope everybody have already felt that doing this very simple breathing exercise slow us down, it makes us a bit more calmer. Now, preparing the step 6, a very important step as well, preparing yourself the day before and on the day of the presentation. The day before, I always advise my students to practice once more and to check that everything is in order. Think about what they are wearing for the presentation and ask them to try to sleep well. And if they feel too tense, try to do something else like breathing exercises, go for a walk, dance, listening to music, etc. And on the day of the presentation, very important, be on time. You don't want to be late, because that actually is going to create a sense of tension that is going to be very difficult to control. Make sure that everything works, and just before the presentation, make some breathing exercises and drink a bit of water. To be hydrated is very important. And the day of the presentation. Now we are in the day of the presentation. So we come into the room, we prepare our visual aids, as I just have done myself a few minutes, half an hour ago, 40 minutes ago, and have positive thoughts. We are ready, we are ready. Yes, we can do it. And we can even enjoy it. Remember that the audience is here because they want, they are interested in the topic, and we must keep them interested. Try to be relaxed, and then when you are almost starting the presentation, you let the audience, if it's in person, you let everybody to settle down. And when everybody is sat and ready, you actually smile. You put something that it works for me and is working for me today is I put both feet on the ground, on the floor, flat on the ground, because it grounds me, it makes me feel more stable, and that gives me a sense of relaxation. So you face the audience, look at the audience, don't move around, say hello, try to feel confident, smile, introduce yourself, state the topic clearly, and give an outline of what you are going to cover. If you are using visual aids, make sure you are not blocking them, because you want the audience to look and to see them. So be at the right or the left of the screen. Don't stand in the middle, blocking them. And make sure you use all the slices, okay? Very important, maintain, if it's face-to-face, maintain eye contact with your audience. And don't look at one person only. Look at everybody, include everybody. If you were to feel a bit tense, you may do breathing exercises, a deep breathing in and out, and using the natural poses in the content to regain control. Don't rush through the presentation. Try to keep calm. Not too slow, but not too fast. Use the voice. Use the hands. And conclude summarizing the main points of the presentation. when you thank the audience, and then question time, you answer question in a simple and direct way, and you end the presentation thanking your audience, and if adequate, if is the right thing to do for you, you may end the presentation with a brief message to remind them again, something that you have done in the conclusion, but you want to remind them again the main point of your talk. So the talk is over, we can relax, and we can actually, and we should give ourselves positive stroke. We have done it, we are great, and then will be time to reflect, to think about the do's and the don'ts, but we must be always, always very, very positive. We have to be kind to ourselves. Remember, perfection does not exist. Think about the good things, the aspect that went really well, and make a note of them, and think about things that you felt that you may improve next time. But overall, think, and that is my main message, that you are able to do it. You will have your confidence more and more if you practice and practice. And as you do more, you become more confident. So remember, preparation and practice is the key of success. And now it's time for you, if you have any questions. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you have understood what I have said. Something that I'm going to do, and I don't want to forget, I'm going to put a PDF, the presentation. I'm going to give access to you, if that is, in case you want to look it again. Any questions? Any comments? Nobody. Thank you. No questions, no comments. The main thing I think, I'm going to real problem, people have to. Yeah, timing is a real problem for me. Somebody saying, usually I have to reduce the points covered drastically after rehearsing. That can happen to everybody, but that is why you practice, in order to check that everything is as it should be. Do you work up slowly to bigger audience? Any practice in smaller group settings? If it was in a small group setting, was face-to-face, I will be more engaged with you as my audience. And the task that we did at the beginning, the reflection, we will be able to have a conversation about that. Because online presentation, as you can see, have its own challenges. Because right now I'm only seeing myself, I'm not seeing you, I'm looking at the chat. And the engaging with you is more difficult. I hope I have done it, but it is obviously a bit more difficult. But we can do it with tasks through the chat and using it is not up to you to know how it is, if it's well received. Well, we know sometimes there is feedback about the presentations that we do. Then our students have feedback, because when they do exams, we actually write a feedback to them, which is very useful for them, because they will actually, when we grade them, we will explain to them the things that they have done well, but as well we may and we should actually advise them how to do things better. Sorry, I don't know the answer. Sorry, I obtained the PDF. I will actually put the PDF in a minute. Yeah. the main thing is to practice, practice, and practice. And the many other things happen at the beginning. At the beginning is when you prepare the content of your talk. So we cannot, how am I going to put that? We shouldn't jump any of the steps that I have mentioned. I have arrived late, but I must have. Yeah, I will actually give it to you. Well, if you don't know the answer to somebody's question, how do you get around it? Well, if you don't know the answer, it's better to acknowledge that actually, thank you very much, very interesting question. I didn't look at that in that way. So you acknowledge it. Because just to try to answer something that you don't know, I don't think, I wouldn't advise my students to try to say something that they don't have knowledge of. So acknowledge you don't have the answer, that you look into that, and you may ask for the contact details and come back to that person. And you can involve the person saying, what is your, somebody saying it there actually, what is your answer to that? Any more comments? I think maybe that's it. Well, I must thank to everybody for listening to me. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias. Merci beaucoup. Dankeschön. Grazie mille. And remember, everything, the preparation, try to do it in the target language. Advise your students to do it in the target language. Okay. Yes, you will have access to the presentation because I'm going to upload it in a minute. And thank you very much. I'm going to try to do it now. I'm going to try to do it now, actually. But I need to, yeah, thank you. So how I do that? I'm going to stop this. I'm going to stop the slideshow. Okay, and then into share. Stop share, and I'm going to